Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted. Everybody around me thugging. Everybody around me drugging.
What is
Everybody around me
up,
hustling.
guys? Welcome to
Everybody
today's
know not to bring no
podcast.
new
Guys,
around me. That's
this is
how I
Uncut
be
with Q.
good.
And on this show, man, I'm your host, Quentin Flores. We talk about all things business, all things entrepreneurship, overcoming hardships, and all of the above. Welcome to the motherfucking show. Guys, I have an amazing guest on today's podcast. I have a really good friend. Bro, where'd you fly in from?
Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That is insane, bro.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself to everybody that's listening right now.
Yeah, so my name is David Olds. I'm an investor out of the Chattanooga, Tennessee market. Grew up in Boston, went to UMass, went to a little private all-boys Catholic school, did kind of that upbringing.
Wow.
My dad worked for a company called Wang, which if you're not familiar, this is like 3 computer recession crashes ago, but they were the people that invented like the original desktop computers and calculators and stuff. Anyways, big recession in the late 80s, and my dad lost his job, moved to Florida, and my mom and dad. And while I was still in college, so I got done with college, I moved down there, and I had a degree in criminal justice from University of Massachusetts, and I thought, well, I'll do something in private security or technology, something, right? Because I was too fat to be a cop, right? I wasn't doing basic training and jumping any obstacles or any of that shit. I knew that.
You're just big bone, David.
Yeah,
It's all good.
So big boned, cuddly. So I had this degree, and I worked my way through college in retail stores. And by the time I got done with college, I was making more money than like an officer or somebody else would. I was making $18,000 a year. It's big time back in the early 90s. But anyways, moved to Florida, got another retail job down there, but this time it was in the hardware industry. So think like a store about the size between an Ace Hardware and a Home Depot. So there was a big chain of stores that I worked for. And, I became a store manager for them because I was good and aggressive. Like I wanted to move up in the company, and I ended up traveling and being
This was in the
transferred.
90s?
This is in the 90s, yeah, man.
Dude, I was
mid-90s.
born 1990, right, bro?
I know, man. I know. I graduated in 1989 from high
What?
school.
No way.
Yeah, dude, I'm old.
Wow.
I'm 50.
Dude, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I would never even have guessed, dude.
People do usually guess a couple years younger. But yeah, so I've lived all over the country, Boston, Florida. I lived down there until 2009 when we moved to Tennessee for real estate.
Dude, what an insane intro, my guy.
Yeah.
You know what I see in that? I see wisdom. I see wisdom in that.
Well, I tell people, when they ask about how long I've been in real estate, I'm like, 20 years. I'm like, 20 years. I'm like, yeah, I was too stupid to quit.
I love that.
You don't have to be incredibly smart to make money in this business. You just got to pick something and not quit.
I love that, man. What do you got going on these days?
So now, so we went through the last recession, which is kind of timely for where we're at today. And we were fixing and flipping in Central Florida. The recession started to happen. And when it was starting to happen, you never know you're in it. Like we think we might be in it, we may not be. This could be like COVID, right? We could have a little dip and then shoot up tomorrow, right? You never really know till you look back in time.
I heard it hit Florida pretty heavy. Florida and California.
Coastal cities, anything close to the water will get trashed.
Wow.
They're going to go, like I wish you could have bought condos in Fort Lauderdale for $70,000. Like on the ocean. Like
how much do they go for now?
Now 300, 400, 500. Yeah, dude, you could have bought them for nothing. But so what happened in Florida? It's such a longer story, but I worked in the building materials business, building supply, 84 lumber, sold doors and windows and stuff. My wife worked for Ashton Woods Homes. She was an assistant purchasing manager.
You had your own business selling doors and stuff?
No, I worked for 84 lumber.
Oh, okay.
84 lumber, ProBuild, Builders First Source. Yeah, they're all kind of the same.
They still around?
Yeah, 84 lumber is a very big family-owned business. So what happened was we knew something was changing, and it's not today. We think something's going to change because the Fed raised the rates 0.75%, but everything else is speculation. So back then, over like the course of a year and a half, me as the supplier supplying doors and windows and molding, trim, crown molding, all that stuff, to custom builders. The way a builder works, any kind of track builder, which is a builder that does like 1,000 homes, they have 20 models of these houses, right? When they're going to start building a house, they send us the plans and they say, give us a takeoff. A takeoff is, I want a list of material that you as the vendor need to supply for this particular model. Okay. 9 doors, 3 windows, 3,000 linear feet of base, whatever, right? So that stuff's all on file. Superintendent calls us, hey, send me the Amherst Model B. Great. We print it out, we ship it out. So I tell you all that. So here's what we saw happening. The standard would have been maybe like a 5 1/4 inch baseboard. All of a sudden they call them like, hey, we're going to change that to 3 1/4 inch baseboard. All right, cool. Hey, we're going to take out the crown molding out of the living areas, delete that off of the order. So we were seeing that they were downgrading because they were trying to lower prices because things were starting. It's like traffic, right? On the highway, you're starting to slow down. Still, nobody knew at the time a recession was coming, right? Because you're in the middle of it. You don't know. And anybody goes online on Facebook today saying the recession's coming, it's the end of the world.
They're full of shit. They
No
don't really
fucking
know
idea what they're talking about. We're not going to know for 3 years when we can look back at the data and go, oh, here's when we crested. Because we could have crested 6 months ago. We don't know. But anyways, so we kind of knew something was starting to happen in Florida. My wife, she was a purchasing manager, so she was experiencing that, as the buyer, right? Downgrading. So maybe, they went from ceramic tile in the kitchen to vinyl. Went from granite to Formica countertops. So something was happening. We got a sense of that. We were rehabbers, and things were starting to slow down. Like, days on market. Like you put something out, you get a contract the first day, 10 days. You know what I mean? Things start to stretch out. So we started looking around, and I'm like every investor. Everybody is playing Monopoly, right? We want to go from single family to multifamily.
Yeah, so grow your real estate portfolio.
Yeah, right. So I flew to Boston. I don't know if this guy's around anymore. His name's Dave Lindahl. And he did a week-long boot camp on buying apartment buildings. But here's the other thing he talked about, emerging markets. There's a great book out. It's called Dave Lindahl, Emerging Markets is what it's called. Like, if you want to start to learn about market cycles, this is the best book I've ever read. He did a book for Trump University, and he's done a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
But what he teaches and he explains is what are things in a market that cause it to go up and cause it to go down. And at the time, the whole country felt like it was starting to slide. And he explained to us, just because the whole country's going down, you know what I mean? The recession's hitting. It's not hitting every place. Like Texas, you guys have been on a 30-year run here that defies all logic. You didn't have a real estate recession. You've had oil recessions, but you didn't have a real estate issue. Whereas like Florida and California, like they tanked really fast because coastal, any place that's like higher end, New York, right? Like those places will get affected quickly, but those secondary, tertiary markets didn't. So I come back from this boot camp, and I started doing some research because we were in Orlando, and it's very expensive to buy in Orlando, right? And we weren't full-time yet. I still at that time still had my day job. So I'm like, well, let's sort of look around like our little southeastern part of the country. Where can we start buying some stuff? So we took some weekend trips. We went to like Louisville, Chattanooga, Montgomery, Alabama, Birmingham, Huntsville. Just, we were taking these weekend trips. And as we were doing all that, trying to pick a market to invest in, we found Chattanooga. And at the time, they had just announced that Volkswagen was going to open their first American production facility in Chattanooga. That was where they picked. Amazon had just announced we're going to open 2 distribution centers there. I'm like, wow, well, that's a sign, right? Looking for a sign.
That's insane.
So this is a city of, at the time, maybe 175, 180,000 people. So Amazon saying, or Volkswagen saying they're going to come in, we're going to hire, 5,000 people, and it's going to be a net gain of 20,000 people, right? Because not only do you have the person doing the, putting the bumper on, but you get the candlestick maker, the butcher, the baker, right? You get all those ancillary jobs that come along with it.
Yeah.
The guy doing, driving the truck to move parts around, the parts company that opens up, right? There's all those
subcategories of work that entails into.
So you have that, and then Amazon says they're opening stuff. I'm like, well, this is going to be a huge boost to this economy, right? It's going to be enormous. And what we were experiencing in Florida at the time was like, at this point now we're really starting to slow down because the economy in Florida is based on 3 things: tourism, right? Construction. Like 60% of the people in Florida are connected to construction somehow. Either it's rooms to go, it's it's related to housing.
Yeah.
And the third leg of that stool is agriculture and livestock. Florida is one of the biggest livestock states. Obviously not as big as Texas, but it's big. It's like in the top 10.
When we're talking about like cows, pigs, also fish and whatnot. I heard Florida's huge in fishing.
Huge.
They compete with Texas all the time.
Yeah. So now you got this economy, like We went into a recession. People stopped traveling, right? Disney shuttered whole resorts that some of them still have never opened.
Wow.
Yeah, like Fort Wilderness. There were some like these like cabins in the trees that if you get on the little boat ride, you could still see it's in the back there, shuttered down. So anyways, tourism stops, construction stops. No wonder the state fell on its face, right? I mean, people are just incredibly unemployed. So knowing that and coming out of that, when I was looking and evaluating other markets, I said, oh, well, here's Chattanooga, little Chattanooga, Tennessee. Amazon's coming, Volkswagen's coming. What's the rest of the economy looking like? Because I didn't want to go through what we were going through in Florida again. I said, oh, well, they've got Unum, which is a big multinational insurance company that, thousands and thousands of employees. Little Debbie, the little cakes, based out of Collegedale, north of Chattanooga. Blue Cross Blue Shield is there. North Georgia's all the textiles. Like probably this flooring came from Shaw Carpet or one of those people. They're all based right there. So it's a very diverse economy where if any one sector died, the whole place wasn't going to take a shit. So that's one of the reasons that is the reason that we picked Chattanooga. We actually, it's a longer story, but we left Chattanooga with $5,000 in our pocket, and we had bought a couple of houses remote as we had started going back and forth, but we knew nobody, not a soul. I kind of knew a realtor that had showed us some houses one time, but we literally, that whole burn the boats thing, like we did that. Like, my wife had lost her job. I had lost my job. I had a house that was fully remodeled that I don't know if you heard me talking about it the other day. We weren't able to sell it.
Man.
The day I bought it, so in Florida, I bought this little probate deal for $97,000, and 1 block over, 2 blocks down in Deltona, Florida, the exact same house, like everything but the color, had just sold for $214,000.
Damn.
So I bought mine in like August of 2008, worked on it, finished it up in like November, called my realtor, and she's like, oh, let's just put it on the market in January, right? Because you don't want a bunch of days on market. So I'm like, well, that makes sense. Plus, we're kind of finishing up, and we've already, at this point, we've decided we're moving to Chattanooga. And she comes in like January 3rd. She walks through. She's like, it looks great. I said, I know. Did a good job. I'm like, I know, because I'm a new investor still. And we sit down, and this is before, this is 2009, so no Google, no Facebook. She pulls out her notebook, and, she's showing me all this stuff. And I'm like, what can we sell it for? Because I'm a rehabber, right? I've been doing this. Well, from whatever, like 156, 1 block over, 2 blocks down, 214, 6 months ago. Yeah, but there's been a lot of foreclosures. Now we're in it. Like now it's all of a sudden like we have hit the wall. The economy has in 6 months, dude. That's how fast it dropped. We'll never experience that again, but this is what it was like.
There's an amazing book too, David, that you should check out. It's an updated version of exactly what happened back then. And it's written by the guy named Ray Dalio. Do you know that dude?
Yeah.
He's basically the dude that connected the chicken nugget to McDonald's, made billions of dollars doing this. Yeah. Hilarious concept. But, he did it. And, McDonald's universally known company. So with this being said, he made billions, right? And so he talks about how in his first book, he creates business concepts based on principles. And so he makes decisions, whether it be moving or financial decisions, whatever it is that you like, whatever direction that you're trying to take your family in, he makes these decisions based on principles. Yeah. So the first book's called Principles. He just dropped a book last year in 2021. It's called The Changing World Order. And he's talking about a lot of what you're talking about. Yeah. I would read that one because I know you read that previous book. This one's probably an updated version of that.
Really?
I'm almost positive because it sounds very similar to what you've been explaining this whole time.
Dude, it was the weirdest thing because I had only grown up in investing. In the 2000s, 4, 5, 6. It's a lot like 4 years ago.
Wow.
So to all of a sudden have this happen to me. So you know what I say to her? I say, well, my house is better than those. I can't even say it with a straight face anymore. But like, I was pissed. I'm like, 214. And this was the house we were selling this to take the seed money to go to Chattanooga.
How much money did you put into the rehab? Did that set you back on the move?
I did it out of pocket. I was living in the house, so I was,
I see, as you went.
Yeah, but I was doing it. I was young and in better shape then. I did all the work myself. So I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I said, we'll list it at 165. And Q, I thought I was being the most magnanimous motherfucker that's ever walked the face of the earth, right? Because to me, I thought it was going to be 214, 220. because all I knew was rising prices. I didn't know. I just didn't understand. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was a possibility. And she's a listing agent. So what does she say? Okay, I'll put the sign in the yard. Out she goes. So we're sitting there for a month. Not even a call. Not even when you're used to, hey, I got offers, nothing. So I call her after 4 or 5 weeks because I don't want to be a pain in the ass. I'm like, hey, maybe we should drop the price. She's like, okay, what do you want to go to? I'm like, 155. And she like snickers a little bit because what's happened? Like, for you at home, like picture a fat kid chasing a tennis ball down the hill. That's what chasing the price in a down market is. It's very hard to get ahead of it. It's very hard.
It's insane.
So, maybe another month or so like that, maybe a call or two. Now I'm like, look, like we got to go. I got to go 145. And it was like 1 or 2 showings because it was a nice house, but banks are just dumping properties and nobody's lending. So for someone to get a loan,
it's like impossible.
So because I'd done a lot of mentorships and coaching, I understood how to do a lease option. So I'm like, okay, change of plans. Go get some blank Bannatynes. I'm going to run around. Owner will finance. Phone blows up. There's a lesson there. Like that's an opportunity in the coming whatever it's going to come.
What? So you offered the house at finance terms?
I financed it.
Explain that for the people that are listening right now
Sure.
that don't know what owner finance really is.
Perfect. So I own the property and I had a mortgage in my name, Bank of America or whatever. By the way, I had that mortgage at 7% and I thought I was the fucking man. So everybody who's crying now about mortgage rates, just take it easy.
Take it easy.
Take it fucking easy, okay? So
grab your wipies too while you're at it.
So new plan, like I can't sell it. I need to, but you gotta be very solution oriented. We're going to figure this out. Like I've got to do this. So I put out a bunch of signs that said owner will finance $5,000 down. And so a lease option is basically this. It's somebody's going to put a certain amount of money down and it would go towards the purchase price and they will rent it for a period of time, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is. And then they have the option to purchase it. And that $5,000, $2,000, $10,000, whatever that option fee was, would go towards the price of the house.
Wow.
Okay.
I see. So then this strategy is what you used to sell that property because you couldn't find a traditional buyer.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was how I got $5,000 down and put a tenant in there because I needed to get out of town. We had already bought a duplex up in Chattanooga and I had a couple of other properties.
Were you going to house hack where like you live in one unit and rent out the other?
No, it wasn't in the best part of town.
I see.
So I had already actually had that filled and I had gone up and my brother was working with us at the time. So he was actually staying in Chattanooga and I was going back and forth. And we had this house. It's in the East Lake part of Chattanooga, sort of up against Missionary Ridge, but still not the best side of town. And maybe it was really weird the way it happened. Like a month or two before I had been up there and we walked through, seller needed to sell. So we were able to purchase it subject to his mortgage, right? Which basically just meant we were going to purchase the property and keep making the payments on his loan. But I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it because I thought we were just going to buy it and rent it. But at this point, this was the only place I had to go, right? So I find this nurse. She gives me $5,000 down because she has bad credit. She's going to lease option it. I take everything in the house. It's me, my wife, our 2 teenage sons, and our 3 fat dogs. Pack up the U-Haul. We're out of Dodge. She shows up. We sign the papers. She gives me $5,000. She's in, and she's renting it. And I think I had like $27 positive cash flow.
Wow.
So like times have changed. A year before we're selling houses like it's crazy. Now all that money's gone. I got $5,000, no job, and a U-Haul. But we're going to chat.
$27 a month in passive income. Let's go.
It's all good. But it's okay. We're going to Chattanooga and we're going to do real estate. Like we've made the decision, like all bets in, all chips in, right? So we leave really early in the morning and we drive to Chattanooga because I actually had to close on this house at like 5 o'clock. So, haul ass up there and it's only 577 miles, but you're tired, your kids, your dogs, 3 cars, it's just.
That's a long drive, man.
It's a long drive. So we get there. I remember going to the closing and I don't even think we had to put any money down. We had to pay for closing, but we signed for it. We get the keys, drive this U-Haul down these old, country roads to the other side of Chattanooga. I want you to picture this house. So it's 1900s house. It's kind of on the side of Missionary Ridge. It's not in a great area. I won't call it the hood, but it's not great. But it's this old house. Like the floors are kind of crooked, like, doors don't close, and it's been vacant for probably 6 or 8 months. And when you see something and then you come back later and you just see it different, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm tired. And I've just left this beautiful house that was fully remodeled in Deltona, Florida. So we get up there and it's now we're at the house and it's like 7:00. Everybody's tired. We're just like, everything we can do, just drag a couple of mattresses in there, throw them on the floor. We try to turn the power on. Only half the power works in the house because one of the poles was bad. There's like a mouse running through. This house has no air. It was June 9th of 2009. It's hot as balls. And dude, I remember like we just threw some blankets down, laid on the mattresses, like no air condition, like nothing. We didn't even have fans because we hadn't unpacked the truck. And dude, I laid there in that bed staring at the ceiling going, what in the fuck have I done?
Wow.
What if I left? Like I could have found another job, right? I had this beautiful, beautiful house that was fully remodeled, and I've uprooted my kids out of their school, my wife, our dogs, and we've moved to this city that we don't know anybody, and we're gonna do real estate full time, which I've had a fucking 6-figure job. So, and I'm telling you, man, I cried myself to sleep. Like that was one of those nights where I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck have I done?
I have had one of those too, man. What do you think you felt after that night? Like
Resolve.
The next day,
we're gonna make this fucking work.
Resolve.
Yeah. Like the next day, like it was a pity party that night, and and you're tired, right? And it's emotions, but I do remember that night going, well, why did I bring my? Because we're husbands and fathers, and it's our job, right? It's our job to take care of and protect them, and not put them in a bad position. And I felt like I had failed. I felt like everything I've done, I've made a series of fucking horrific decisions. That we lived in a nice house, we had nice cars, and we still had we had a Jeep Grand Cherokee and all that. But like I took us from that, and I made a decision, and here we are in this shitty house where the electric doesn't work, the floors are crooked, there's a mouse running through. Like, how could you have fucked up any worse?
Wow. Then the next day.
Well, and that's the difference. There are some people that sort of just will wallow, and I will always have, like, I can have a bad day.
Everybody does, yeah.
Like everybody has a bad day, but I do, like, okay, like my mind goes pretty much right into, okay, let's solve the problem, right? I'm not and this is probably a personality flaw. I'm not let's cuddle and let's talk about it and your feelings. I'm not built that way. Like if we're on a plane together and the plane's going down, like I'm not going to hold your hand and cry. I'm going to be like, okay, so let's go up there and get on the radio, see how we're going to solve this. That's just my broken fucking squirrel personality of how it works.
I
right?
wouldn't say that's squirrel. Man, I have the same mindset. Mm-hmm. Whenever something's wrong, I just know that there's an outcome where it could be right.
Sure.
And even if it doesn't go right, then I still see it as a lesson. Yeah. And so the lesson itself, it just teaches you how to become a better person. Regardless, you grow from it. Mm-hmm. And it's really just God guiding you into that direction that you've always wanted to go, but you just don't recognize it yet because you haven't seen the outcome.
Right.
Then it's like you kick yourself in the ass and you're like, all right, I have to get up. I have to do what I have to do because I have to take care of people that depend on me. Mm-hmm. And I love them to death. I'm willing to go as far as I need to go to ensure that they do not have to struggle. Yeah. That's just what it is to be a dad. Mm-hmm. And to have people in your life. You don't even have to be a dad, just have people in your life that you love. Yeah. Yeah. And so, man, that to me is a driving factor, bro. So you get over there to this random place in this worst house that you ever lived in. You sold the most beautiful thing in the world, you fucking crazy bastard. One, it's just crazy because I did not know any of this about you. This is what I love about doing these podcasts. Is it's just like I'm getting to know people on such a crazy level, and it helps me understand what's significant to you because I got a chance to meet your wife too, and she is a firecracker. I love her, man.
She is, but you run a lot, you start a lot of businesses, you do a lot of crazy things. So, I remember we were buying our second house and I was on break from lunch or a break from work rather. So I run over there and I look at this house and I call her and I'm like, hey, so there's this house. I think we can remodel it and fix it up and make some money. And she's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, but I wanted to tell her more because I wanted her to give me pushback. And she's always like, yeah, just do it, whatever. I'm like, I'm looking for someone to do a little clutch and braking on me here, right? Just I want a little safety check. we're Brent Franklin. We were getting ready to invest in his oil company, and I'm sitting at my dining room table, and we're doing this Zoom with all these oil people and geologists and shit.
Wasn't that guy speaking at the event this weekend?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing guy.
I tell him this too. So very thin line between crazy and genius. He straddles that line. Thank God, 90% of the time he comes down on the genius side, but he's got that kind of brain that just thinks up. Yeah. Anyways, he's a lot of fun. But I called her over. I'm like, hey, we're going to watch this Zoom because it's going to be a couple $100,000. We're going to invest. Oh, if you think we're good, we're good. Like, come on, just say no once in a while, right? But luckily they've all worked out. Yeah, she's great. She puts up with all my shit and me traveling, like now not being home. I'm lucky to have her. Lucky to have somebody that's been along for the ride and enjoys real estate, right? And we're able to march through the journey together.
What do you think are the best benefits of having the right partner in your life?
I mean, we have a shared vision, right? So I've had business partners before, and that's like a marriage, right? So you have to want the same thing and be on a parallel track, because the minute one of them starts zipping off to the side or wants something different, and some of that's natural, right? There's growth. Day one, we may want something. 3 years from now, somebody wants something different. So, a lot of partnerships break up and do that. But I mean, having her in my life, and she's very supportive. She wants the same thing. We want to retire early. We want to, have some wealth. We want to create something that we can pass down to our kids and make donations and charities. And, she has some children's cancer, groups that she likes to do a lot of stuff with because she lost her niece. So I mean, I don't know how you could do it otherwise. I think somebody, either your wife or spouse, either has to be all in or just completely separate. And then now this is just your job you go to.
I love that she does that work with the cancer.
She does. Know what I mean? She does.
Dude, a couple of years back, I didn't even get a chance to fully, I didn't know who you were at that time, but I threw a real estate event and I had Vanilla Ice come. Mm-hmm. And dude, this event was amazing. We had over 500 people in there. It was great. It was one of my social media ones.
I get invited, but I'm like, oh,
I was in a terrible place mentally, and if I would have been, I'm not gonna say if I would have. I'll say that it would happen the way God happens. Now we're here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is all that matters. But I had Vanilla Ice there, and it was one of the most pivotal moments in my life, man. And I love this so much because what Vanilla Ice was talking about is how people try to run away from the things that are hard. Like you get to something and then you see it and then you're like, oh, whoa, I don't need that. And then you just run away versus taking it head on for what it is. This could be telling somebody that you love something that you've always wanted to say. This could be that job opportunity that you have on the line, but you also want to be an entrepreneur and own your own business. Like these are two things that are parallel to each other, that are forces that are pushing against each other. And so he says every single year during Christmas, he put this program together. And so he has this place in Fort Worth. It's a charity. I'm not entirely sure what it's called, but I'll plug it on the next episode when I get off of this show. But Vanilla Ice goes to the hospital and he picks up kids that are terminally ill and he puts them on a bus and he takes them to this facility. It's a whole warehouse that he constructed and built into the North Pole. And Santa is there. He gives gifts, presents, and everything. And these kids are just having the best times of their life, man. And one of the things that I saw that Vanilla Ice said, that he said to everybody in the crowd, was like, a lot of people will see kids that are going through things like this, and they run away from it. They're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to donate to that charity. I don't want to be involved in that. And he's like, I run to it because even though it hurts me so much, I know that these kids have it way worse than anything that I've ever experienced in my life. And so I want to give them the best part of their life by allowing them to go to this facility and take care of them. They get presents, gifts, Santa's there to see pictures, everything, you know? And he's just like, dude, like, you really think that you have problems until you see a kid that's going through pain like that. And all they get every single day is bad news. Every single day a doctor's coming in. And they're telling them how bad it is. They don't even get a chance to play around. They see all these videos and movies of kids doing super things, and they're just there waiting for that day, And so it's like, to do that for somebody and to run toward that direction and look at it for everything that it is. He said it's the most fulfilling thing that he's ever done. It beats any amount of money that he's ever made. About him.
That's crazy.
Beats any amount of success that he's ever had. And I live my life by that. I might not be going to the hospitals and whatnot, but my wife and I, we donate when we can. And we throw these events, and I meet children and I meet kids, and I let them sit in my car. I let them do a lot of things.
I see that in your
with everything that I have, because I know that at any given moment, all this could be taken away from me. Oh, yeah. And so I'm like so grateful for where I'm at right now. But that was something that I learned from Vanilla Ice. So I applaud your wife for doing that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see her again so I can give her a big ass hug, man.
You would not believe when I met her, she was quiet.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow.
We own an apartment building, and
she couldn't stop talking to me when we were sitting down.
Up. Yeah. So I used to self-manage. One of the greatest things I ever did was finding a good property manager. But anyways, I had this girl who wasn't paying, and she was very lippy, and she would call up and she would be, the tenant would be giving me a bunch of shit, and that makes my wife crazy, right? Because she's super protective. So we're over at this apartment building, and I don't remember what we were doing over there. It wasn't even for this girl, but she comes out and she starts yelling some shit. And my wife, she's from Detroit. She's from like 9 Mile. Like she's from downtown Detroit. Well, anyways, now
like
she's
Eminem,
like Eminem area. Yeah.
Wow.
Like 2 streets over. And, she's 5'2". She's nothing. Right. Well, the two of them start bickering back and forth. I'm like, hey, take it easy. And I'm talking to somebody else. I'm like, take it easy. And all of a sudden she starts going. I like grabbed her by the back of the sweatshirt. I'm like, and we're done. You're in the car. You're done. You're going to get us in jail. Sit your ass down. Cause she's super protective as a wife, and no matter who it is, she's ready to go. I'm like, you're done. Go sit down.
I love that, man. I love that.
She's a handful.
To going into your real estate stuff, man, because now you moved into that house, you started establishing yourself. How did it pan out, man?
So, we all three of us, so it was myself, my wife, and my brother. All we did was real estate. People ask all the time, like, how were you successful? Or you probably get this, right? What did you do? What was the steps? Well, so it's 2009. There's no Google, there's no Facebook, there's no call tools, there's no PropStream. None of that is there, right? So the way that we did lead gen back then, and I had no money. It's fucking broke. Between us, we had $5,000. That was it. And I used some of it to close on this house. So we knew we had to do something fast. And what's interesting is when I was in Florida, I tried wholesaling and just didn't work. I don't know,
wholesaling existed back then?
Oh, dude, man, you're gonna hurt my feelings. Of course it did. I'm not that old. Yeah, my mentor.
I didn't hear about it until 2013. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, yeah, dude. Wholesaling's been around forever. Kenny Rushing, you ever heard of him? Out of Tampa?
Never.
Dude, Kenny Rushing is the guy who taught the guys, who taught all of the guys who are doing it now.
Wow.
He is the OG guy. Like, I don't know of anybody on a scale that was doing it before him. He was around with like Chris Chico.
Still don't know who that is either.
Oh, he's like the father of direct mail.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
So that's when I came up. Like when Freedom Soft first came out in 2009.
I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Make me feel old, man.
I'm sorry, dude. Okay. I'm young in the game.
So here's what I tell people now. Like, you can 100% start with no money. I did. But it's going to take work.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I tell people. When I woke up in the morning, real estate, before my feet hit the ground, real estate was what I was thinking about. What was I doing during the day? Driving for dollars, door knocking, talking to neighbors, doing stuff. I was out there doing stuff. I would run around all day. I would come home at night, and I would give my wife this yellow pad, 6 pages of yellow pad notes, not notes, addresses. And she would sit there at night, handwriting yellow letters, sending out postcards. We would print off form letters, whatever we were doing at the time. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. And it was the last thing I thought about before I went to bed. And every single Friday night, we would go out and put out bandit signs. You've done bandit signs, right?
I have, yeah.
Putting out 100 bandit signs is a lot of fucking work.
It is, man.
It's a shit ton of work. People think,
even when you get good at it, it's still.
Yeah, there were 3 of us, and we would alternate hopping in and out. And if you do it right and you spread them out, like, it takes 3 to 4 hours. Mm-hmm. So our level of commitment was every single Friday night we went out and put out signs. Did not matter if the new Spider-Man movie came out, or my kids had a play, or it was raining, snowing, did not fucking matter. Every single Friday. If we went out at 9 o'clock, great. If we had to do something, we went out at 1, We went out at 1, but every fucking week, this is what we did. We had a commitment. This is what we did. And leads started coming in. We actually did our first deal within like 4 or 5 weeks. It was a lease option, weirdly enough. And
so you moved to this place and then in 5 weeks already landed your first deal?
Yeah.
Way to go, man.
Yeah.
Way to burn the bridges and just make it happen.
Yeah. So I tell people that, because I've been to a bunch of events and masterminds and things. So I had this card that I laminated, and I wish it's in my database someplace where I printed it out, and I had this card laminated. I'm going to tell you what it said. It said, I will be the dominant wholesaler in Chattanooga. I will wholesale 5 deals per month for $5,000. And it was just this list of like 5 or 6 things. And it was laminated. It sat on my nightstand. I got up in the morning and I said it out loud. I'm out during the day. I'm stopping for lunch. I would read it out loud because that's what somebody told me to do. And I'm not that smart, but I'm really fucking good at following directions. I would read, I will be the dominant wholesaler in Chattanooga. I will do, and just over and over and over. And it was the very last thing I did before I went to bed. And I'm going to tell you, that shit works. Like it gets in your head and you're programming your subconscious. And that period was, that was a period of massive growth for us. The only thing more important than real estate, if my kid hurt himself. Like we were so hyper-focused on making this work. It was the most important thing in the world for that first year. I mean, and then, it's always been important, but like we did nothing else but real estate. And then we'd get properties on a contract and now we're selling them. I'm putting out bandit signs. Hey, house for sale, dirt cheap, 30 cents on the dollar. Going to RIA meetups, putting out we used to put out these little we'd print off little, just paper, house for sale with the little pull off tabs on the bottom. All that kind of guerrilla shit, and all of it still works today. People are just too lazy to do it.
Look, I love guerrilla marketing, man. That's getting into the weeds, knocking on the doors, putting up the bandit signs, and sending out the mail. Right. That's the hard knock stuff.
That's when I'm speaking on stage, I'll talk about, hey, we've got all these companies now, not as many as you, but we've got a couple, we have, 70, 80 rehab or rentals and all this stuff. But like it all started for driving for dollars and put out bandit signs. Like that allowed us to build a company, that allowed us to buy rentals, that allowed us to grow. Now we're nationwide and we have oil companies and, we have all the things, but you can 100% do this if you're broke. Honestly, I think it's a little bit easier because you're just going to learn better, better fundamentals.
I loved, honestly, man, like when I got into the business of real estate, that's how I started. Mm-hmm. And the softwares and stuff hadn't launched yet, but Facebook was a thing. Mm-hmm. And so I focused on social media for the majority of my lead gen. And so I would post in Facebook groups. I would post in buy, sell groups like the marketplace. Yeah. And I would just try to find people who were interested in at least hearing an offer for their house. Mm-hmm. And so, man, I doubled down so heavy on that. And during the day, I'd go out and I'd drive and I'd knock on doors and I'd leave things in mailboxes. Yeah. And really, I was just determined to do whatever I had to do to make this shit work because I was going to be a dad. And so, like, this was what I was doing. I remember my wife, she asked me, she said, you're going to have to get a job if this doesn't work.
This is going to work.
That challenged me even further. She don't realize that at the time I resented her for saying that, but I'm also glad that she said it now as I've grown, because if I would have just buckled down and gotten a job, I remember I even had a friend, I didn't know how to do a fucking resume, bro. The only job I've ever had was at Jack in the Box.
I've heard that, yeah.
That's it, dude. That's where my job stuff ends. I dropped out of high school at like 9th grade and I went straight into fast food. And so like, for me, I knew that I could do this because I've seen other people that have done it. And once I could see that it can be done, I just know that there's nothing that separates that person from me. Right. And so I doubled down so heavy on that. So I'm glad you're talking about the hard knock way versus the grab a whole list of 100,000 records and then skip trace all of them and then just cold call endlessly for weeks and then pray to God that somebody wants to sell their house.
First off, who's got the money?
Yep.
And I'm not really I'm not a tech guy. I'm not smart. Like, thank God I've got amazing people that work for me. I was just at Uncle Charles's office and they're like, yeah, who do you use for, RVMing? I'm like, oh.
I have no clue. I just pay the bill.
I see Amex notifications come across my desktop, and the girl in the next office spends more money of my money than my wife does.
Oh, my God.
And when you start that way, what you realize is that it could all go today.
Yep.
Pick a city, man. Put me in a car and a cell phone, a pad of paper and a pen, and we're back.
I love that, man.
You know?
I love that.
Exactly, because it's ingrained. Nobody can ever take that away from you once you understand how to do it.
As you've gone into the business, now that you've started refining things, what do you think was the most valuable thing that attributed to your success in the real estate world that you learned along the way? Or maybe it's something that you're doing now.
I think there's two things that are really crucial for people to understand. One, as you're starting to do this business and, you know, maybe you have some success, maybe you haven't yet, but if you're a solopreneur and you're working out of your garage or your kitchen or your bedroom or a den or whatever it is, it's really easy to feel like a man or woman alone on an island, right? It's a lonely business. It can be. So I always tell people, like, surround yourself with allies, you know, people in your city or people that I can call in another city, you know, because the internet's united all of us, but find some people who can be on the journey with you. Because listen, people see fancy cars, got the big Tesla and all that shit. Like, we all have bad fucking days. Like, right?
Yeah.
No matter.
I still have them.
Yes.
Still have. I had one yesterday.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously you're Instagram famous. I'm not, but.
Oh, you're on the way, man. You working with my friend Sheik? You're going to get there in no
Sheik's the
time.
man.
Shout out to 210 Sheik, by the way.
210. But yeah, so sometimes people only see the good stuff, right? People say I want to go to Europe for a month like you did. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But what you don't see is a day I was standing in the basement in 12 inches of sewage water and rubber boots, dumping chlorine to pump it, you know. So a lot of times people don't see the hard stuff, you know. So anyways, find some people that can be on that journey with you. But one of the biggest, I had a hard time giving up control and hiring people, right? Because I thought, I'm the best and nobody can do this better than me, which is the biggest bunch of bullshit that's ever been spewed out of somebody's mouth. There's so many amazing, talented fucking people out there.
There is, bro.
You know?
And people that are aligned with your dream and your vision and the outcome.
They will push and pull that sled up the hill faster than you could ever do it. So yeah, you know, hiring some people, you know, hiring that first person, and, you know, her name was Taylor, and letting her start talk to some buyers. And then, you know, she did really great, and I added a little bit more responsibility to her, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And all of a sudden, like, my role just starts moving back, and you know, other people start taking over. And someone mentioned it this past weekend, you know, in your company, you can become the bottleneck. I am 100% the bottleneck in my company. You know, I've got like one little part of my company I do, which is the marketing on the disposition side. And on my way over here, they're blowing me up. Hey, is this property ready to go yet? I'm like, it's not, but if it looks good, just send it, you know, because I'm doing, you know, just running around on a little tour here. But yeah, find some people that, you know, understand the journey you're on and you can talk to, right? One of the great stories I've heard, and I'm going to butcher it all up, but I'll give you the best, shortest version I can, is, you know, the Navy SEALs when they're doing Hell Week, right? You know, 6 of them, they're in their platoon. Again, I'm butchering it up.
What is Hell Week?
Hell Week is for Navy SEALs when they're doing their training. It's a week where they're kept awake for 24 hours a day for like 5-6 days.
Wow.
So the story that I heard was this one guy, he was like the platoon leader. He was the guy that was in charge of the 6, right? It was his team, and they were all in it together, but he was the one that was in charge. And he said, listen, there are going to be times out of the 6 of us where one of you are going to be in the worst emotional state possible. One of you is going to be ready to like end it, and the other person's going to be so high on something, you know, the adrenaline, that you're going to feel like you're seeing dragons. If you're down, you need to tell the other 5 of us that you're down so we can pick you up. If you're the guy that's doing like, I'm feeling great right now, it's your job to tell us, because it's your job to help bring those guys up. Like, we're all in this together. Like, so they're in, you know, in your group of guys, Corey for me, Nick, Charles, you, like, there are going to be people who are up and there are going to be people who are down, and we're all in this, and we're trying to bring the guys up who are having a hard time. So that's what it means to have some allies, to me anyways.
I love that, man. I think that a lot of people, they drive themselves into the ground trying to just not ask for help, and not be receptive to it either. When I first got into the game, bro, that was the thing that held me back, was I was afraid to pay for mentorship. Yeah. And I just had this chip on my shoulder that I was going to figure it out on my own. And I remember I was telling myself, I was like, Q, you're going to close hundreds of houses. No one's ever going to say that they gave you anything. You're never going to get a handout. But everybody teaches me. Even when I didn't want it, I learned something from someone, you know? And I think that could be a shortcut to success when you learn that everyone is not against you.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there are a lot of motherfuckers that are down for you, but they're outside of the circle that you probably grew up with, you know?
Right.
Because I think that when people get into entrepreneurship, they start being the weird guy. They start being that dude that's like, oh man, David, he's going to go out and burn his boats and he's moving from Florida. He don't fucking know anybody.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to go all the way out to this random ass place in the middle of butt fuck nowhere and try to make some shit happen.
Yeah.
You know, and you had, I'm almost positive that you had people that were like, what the hell is David doing?
There were people that were salesmen and oh, you're going to do the real estate thing, huh? Like, yeah, man.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Real estate, man. It's great. It's, you know, it's going to be good.
In the middle of a recession.
Which turns out to also be the best time to be in real estate. But yeah, man, there will definitely be people who would doubt you and that don't believe in you. And I'm not saying do crazy shit in the whole world saying, don't jump off that building. Like sometimes you should listen, but listen to people that have been in the game ahead of you, right?
Listen to people that are professionals at jumping off of a building.
Right. You know, they got the suit and all that. Yeah, don't be afraid to pay for mentorship, right? None of us know everything, right? Like you and I, we get to be in some rooms with some amazing people and they're amazing, but they're not amazing at everything, right?
Yeah.
We're all like great at one thing, but I don't know, you know, I have friends, you know, Nick Perry, amazing at like
Love
hiring and, you know, and all, you know, he does some cool PPC, right? Like fucking amazing stuff. Like I didn't know anything about novations. Corey Geary does that, right? What can I help him with? I'm okay with dispositions. So like I'll go. So we all have a little piece of the puzzle that we can kind of come together. And I want my friends to succeed, man. I'm honestly happier when they succeed than when I succeed, which is probably some Catholic guilt shit that I got going on. But,
I think that's badass, man.
But
you even like created a whole company to help people make more money faster, right? Yeah. Don't you have that? What is it called?
Easy REI closings.
There you go, man. Yeah. Tell the people that are listening what's that, man?
So here's one thing you know, any idea, you've started a lot of businesses, right?
Yeah.
It always starts with this weird kernel of an idea. And what happened was a couple years back, Nationwide Property Liquidators, our wholesale company, we were doing a lot of JV deals for people. And in the wholesale world, right, there's kind of three buckets of things that happens. You have to acquire your property, sales and marketing. You have to sell that property, which is dispositions. But then there's a third bucket, which is transactions, which is taking all of that stuff, putting it in a nice box with a bow and taking it to the title company and getting the property closed out so you get paid. Because that's the fucking most important thing we do, right? Is we do all of this to get paid. So anyways, we're doing a lot of JV deals, and I know you do JV deals, dispo deals, because I get your emails all the time. And with
my
the rabbit,
team's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I love it, man. I love that logo. But almost as good as Property Hub.
You know, that's one of my students, right?
I know. We talked about it the other day.
Yeah, she's amazing.
My operations manager, we were flipping through the other day, and she just started busting out laughing. I'm like, oh, I see. But anyway, so we're doing JV deals, and typically someone will come do one or two JV deals with you. They'll figure it out and they'll go try to do it on their own. But I had some guys who kept coming back, and gals, over and over and over again. And I would talk to them and I'm like, awesome, man. Thanks for sending me that new property. Let me ask you a question, man. How come you don't just do it yourself? Well, you know, I just want to be good at putting properties on a contract. I kind of work full time or whatever. You know, everybody has a different story, but I really like that you guys handle all the closing stuff. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I had two full-time, one part-time TCs in my own company. And I had some local people say, hey, can your people help me? And so that's the little kernel that starts it. And then I started looking around, and there was no that I could find anybody that did TC work on a big scale. There's Casey Smith here in Texas, but I think it's pretty much based just like Texas. But nobody that I could see that did it in all 50 states. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is an opportunity. I think there's a need in the market. And even if there were 5, obviously there's 10,000 wholesale transactions going on, right? So I thought there was an opening in the market where we could serve wholesalers. Because here's what I do know. All of us, we will leave our 9-to-5 job. We get out of that. Why? For financial freedom, to make big checks. And wholesalers, especially, very entrepreneurial. We're some yappy motherfuckers. We want to be out there.
Absolute
hustlers,
bro.
Hustlers. We want to be out talking to sellers. We want to be talking to buyers. We're cutting deals. We're excited. That personality type, the fucking opposite that's good at paperwork.
Exactly.
Right? Fucking terrible.
Dude,
If you
I
look
brought
at
the assignment fee.
Yeah.
Like I brought the assignment of contract to the seller for them to sign. All right. So that's a piece of paper that the seller never really sees. That's for the investor, for people that are listening.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I was an absolute fucking idiot at the paperwork.
Yeah.
Had you would have just told me that there was a company out there that could handle all that shit for me, I would have fucking
almost for nothing.
I would have flew.
Yeah.
I would have flew. My wings would have boom, and I would have been an eagle in the sky, man.
Yeah. So our goal, we want to help wholesalers do more deals and make more money by taking just all that paperwork off their plate. Because we really have it's weird. We have two types of clients. We either have new people who are doing 2 or 3 deals a month, and they can't get past that because they get so stuck. They get a deal. The title company's calling them, hey, you forgot to get this. Oh, and then they get that. And then what is it? It's another call. Hey, you need to get this. Oh, fuck. And then it's one more call. Oh, I need these 2 more papers, right? So they just get stuck in this, like walking in quicksand, trying to get deals closed because when you're new, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? And so one, it's keeping them from growing, or they just get pissed off and like, fucking real estate's stupid, I can't do it. So that's probably about 40% of our clients. So by taking that off their plate, now all of a sudden they're doing 5 deals a month.
Boom.
Right? Because now all they're doing is focus on marketing, selling, marketing, selling, marketing, selling.
And the name of the company, what is it again?
Easy, REI, closings.com.
EasyREIClosings.com, guys.
Thanks,
if you
man.
need
I didn't come on
closings,
to talk about that, but
man, I mean, dude, it's honestly insane. I'm glad that we got to that. You know what I mean? Bro, just listening to your entire journey has just been absolutely crazy. Burning the bridges, then you and your wife doing what you guys are doing right now, and then all the businesses. You said you're in the oil industry too?
Yeah, we're partnered with Brent Franklin, and you need to get him on here. His story is insane.
Connect me. I'd love to get him on here.
Yeah. He's taken, because he came out of real estate. And I will do again. I'll butcher this up, but he's taken the idea of real estate and how you rehab houses to oil wells, where they'll go and lock up these oil wells. They'll go in. Again, I'm gonna mess this up. Kind of re-drill it, clean out the pipe, the whatever it's called. And you can tell I'm obviously so tapped into what they're doing, but and they can, because geologically they can tell that there's still oil and gas down there, and it may not be worth the money for Shell or Mobil to do it, but for a small company, it's a nice payday. But anyways, they'll rehab these wells and bring them back online, and there's a lot of money to be made.
It's crazy, bro, to think that to get to where you're at right now with all these different things that you have going on. It all started with burning your bridges at that 9 to 5 that you were working at, and all those people laughing at you. Yeah. And you literally going to a place from a beautiful home to sleeping on a fucking mattress on the floor in this house that had mice running through it.
So at the time, one of my 3 fat dogs is funny, and English bulldog, right? I'm an English bulldog, right? I tell people they're my spirit animal because they're fat, they fart, they drool, and they eat and sleep, right? So that's why, that and panda bears, right? They're roly-poly. Anyways, so poor English bulldog, his name was Dudley. I named him from the cousin in Harry Potter who was kind of angry, like Dudley. Wow. That's where. But anyways,
touche.
Yeah. So we're in this house now. We're in there for like a month, and we've got out these glue traps. And this poor dumb dog, because English bulldogs are awesome, but they're not built for their brains. He steps in the glue trap. So he comes walking through the living room, like high stepping with this, that he's trying to get it off.
Oh my God.
It was an adventure, man.
What would you say, man, just for closing remarks on this, what would you say to that person that has a job that they're absolutely miserable at and they want to get into the real estate game? That guy that's watching, that's like, I know I can do this.
Well, you definitely can. Because I'm not that smart and I've been able to do pretty good at it. First off, you don't have to be a genius to do real estate, right? But here's what I do tell people. Real estate is like being a doctor. There's a lot of ways to do real estate, right? A doctor, you can be the eye doctor, the nose doctor, the toe doctor, the butt doctor, whatever, right? Real estate's the same way. So find something in real estate that you're passionate about and that you believe in, right? Don't just do wholesaling because I do wholesaling, right? So whether it's storage units or land development or pretty houses or rehabbing or landlording or apartment buildings or wholesaling, right? Find something in real estate that really resonates with you and you enjoy, right? Like I wouldn't want to be a short sale expert, even back then when that was popular, because I don't want to sit on the phone all day. It's not my personality. Find something that fits your personality. Just dive in, get focused on it. And my God, real estate is the greatest equalizer, I think, in our society, where somebody can go from having $0 to being incredibly wealthy in a short amount of time.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
David, dude, I really appreciate you flying
Thanks for
down here
having
and
me,
being on the
man.
show, dude. It's honestly insane, all the things that you've been able to go through.
Dude, when I saw you putting all this together, I never dreamed I'd be able to be here 2 weeks ago. So I'm incredibly, dude, I've been following you for so long. So just to even get to know you and start to become friends and to be here, I'm unbelievably humbled.
I love it, man. I love it. Guys, don't let your 9-to-5 trap you. If it's not aligned with your passions, you know that you can break away and you can break free and do something that's more meaningful with your life. All right, man. Thank you guys so much for watching the show. David, I'll see you on the next one, brother.